When Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei watched the Pakistani Air Force use its J-10C fighter jets to shoot down Indian Rafale and Su-30MKIs one after the other in a border air battle, did he recall the decision that changed the Middle East skies 8 years ago? When Iran's arms embargo was lifted in 2017 and the country, which had been besieged by sanctions for 4 decades, was faced with a crossroads of military purchases. The Chinese J-10 and the Russian Su-30SM were on the negotiation table at the same time, and Tehran eventually gave up the purchase on the grounds of waiting for a more advanced model. But in the 8 years since then it has been trapped in a Russian-style equipment system. Now, the Pakistan Air Force, with actual combat verification of China's answer, is letting the cost of this historic miscalculation more and more clear. Behind Iran's decision-making that year is a complex geopolitical considerations and the dual role of technology path dependence. As the last country in the Middle East to retain a complete aviation industrial system, Tehran has always tried to find a balance between independent development and the introduction of equipment. 2015, after the signing of the Iranian nuclear deal, the Iranian Air Force has the world's most obsolete fleet, half of the F-14 Tomcat, over service for 3 decades. MiG-29A airframe life depleted. Self-research of the Lightning fighter is only equivalent to the second generation of the level of half. In the window of the lifting of the arms embargo, the Iranian military assessed that the J-10 as a single-engine medium-sized fighter aircraft is difficult to support the vast airspace of the Persian Gulf, while the Su-30SM heavy twin-engine fighters not only radius of operations, covering the Strait of Hormuz, more mounted Russian Kh-31P anti-radiation missiles to suppress the air defense system of the Gulf states. This kind of thinking continues the inertia of the Cold War era. Large range, large bomb load determines the superiority of air combat, but ignores the fundamental change of the system confrontation in the era of information war. The tactical victory of Pakistan Air Force has precisely subverted this traditional cognition. 2025 May the 7th Air War. The Pakistani side to ZDK-03 AWACS as a hub, through the Link 17 data chain, will J-10CE, JF-17 Block 3, and ground air defense system seamless connection, build up a 200 kilometers of the kill chain. When India's 72 fighters attacked in the traditional swarm mode, the 42 fighters from the Pakistani side relied on the system advantage to carry out precise point-blank strikes. J-10C launched PL-15E missiles 150 kilometers away and used electronic warfare to suppress the Spectre self-defense system of the Indian Rafale to make it ineffective, and Su-30MKI was reduced to a dead end due to the incompatibility of the Russian and French data chains. Russian-French data chain incompatibility has been reduced to an information island. This sensor, decision maker, shooter, closed-loop combat, exposing the Russian equipment and the system integration of the fatal shortcomings. India spent $8.8 billion to introduce 36 Rafale, has not been able to achieve data sharing with the S-400 air defense system, a 50EI early warning aircraft, and the legal warplanes of the conflict and communication protocols leading to the battlefield situational awareness delayed up to 17 minutes. On the other hand, the J-10C's combat effectiveness has hit the pain point of the Iranian Air Force's modernization and transformation. Equipped with active phased array radar and PL-15E missiles, this 4.5 generation fighter is not only 40% less expensive than the Su-30SM, but also has an open architecture design that facilitates the integration of domestically produced electronic warfare pods and data link systems. In the 2019 Eagle 8 joint exercise, Pakistani pilots piloted the J-10CE to break through the electromagnetic suppression of the PLA's J-16, verifying its survivability in a complex electromagnetic environment. This compatibility and expandability is crucial for Iran. The country's self-developed IDEA-90 electronic countermeasure system can be connected to the J-10CE platform, which will significantly enhance the countermeasure capability of F-15SA and European Typhoon fighters in the Gulf countries. The Russian Su-30SM closed avionics architecture, so that Iran spent 10 years to develop the Victory anti-radiation missiles have not been able to realize the fire control system crosslinks. The deeper impact comes from the misalignment at the strategic level. When Iran will bet on Su-57 stealth fighters, the reality has given Tehran a cruel lesson. Russia's aviation industry chain due to the war in Ukraine caused by the break so that the Su-57 mass production program delayed until 2030, and supporting the Product 30 engine failure rate remains high. At the same time, China's J-35E stealth fighter technology transfer program to Pakistan, including the source code level avionics system open access. This deep cooperation mode is exactly the Russian-Iranian military trade has never appeared. More Iran is on pins and needles. The Israeli Air Force has deployed 47 F-35I, September 2024 on the Natanz nuclear facility's simulation exercise. Stealth fighters and Arrow 3 anti-missile system constitutes the offensive and defensive system, thoroughly exposed the Iranian air defense network of the generational gap disadvantage. If 8 years ago to choose J-10C as a transition model, at this moment, Iran may have built up to the early warning aircraft as the core of the air combat system, rather than trapped in the Su-30SM and F-14 mixed awkward situation. The butterfly effect triggered by this choice of equipment is reshaping the geopolitical pattern of the Middle East. 2025 May. Saudi Arabia suddenly announced that it was considering the introduction of J-10C to replace some Typhoon fighters, while the United Arab Emirates suspended the second batch of Rafale procurement negotiations. These two Gulf countries in Yemen battlefield to learn the swarming tactics of Iranian drones, now more fearful of the Iranian drone swarming tactics. The two Gulf countries have learned from Iran's drone swarm tactics in the battlefield of Yemen, and now they are more afraid of the air power under the Chinese system. Even Qatar, which has always been pro-US, has also test-flown the J-35E prototype through Pakistan. Behind this strategic swing is a re-examination of the politics of weapons. As the usage restrictions attached to Western equipment become more and more restrictive, the non-political conditions plus technology sharing model offered by China's military industry becomes more attractive. This trend is a double-edged sword for Iran, easing the pressure on its F-35 fleet in the Gulf, but also intensifying the regional arms race. Turkey has accelerated the progress of the TFX stealth fighter, while Egypt seeks to introduce the J-35E production line. There are no ifs in history, but the choice of technological paths always points to the future. When Khamenei looks at the wreckage of the fallen Su-30MKI on the TV screen, he may recall the J-10B vectoring demonstrator that performed the Cobra maneuver at the 2017 Zhuhai Air Show, a moment that brought the Iranian delegation to a standing ovation. Today, the Pakistani Air Force with the actual combat to prove that the decision to win the air war has long been not simply the performance of the airframe, but into the wisdom of the combat system. For the Iranian Air Force is still struggling in the Russian equipment maze to untie the knot. Perhaps the need is not only to replace the fighter model, but also a platform center to system center cognitive revolution. When the shadow of the J-35E looms over the Persian Gulf, Tehran's decision-makers have finally realized, in the sky of information war, choice is more important than effort.